Happy Friday, guys. Should have put this up earlier about what are you going to do. Hopefully it helps out a few people. I knew it was going to be longer than whatever the 3-minute allotted TikTok time. Just wanted to do it on YouTube. Like one matchup a lot on Bellator 272 on Friday, December 3rd. Should not have just had that ginger ale. It's 11:30 at night. But the Sergio Pettis Kyoji Horiguchi card, I've actually watched like a few of his fights from doing tape research for Kape, and Horiguchi's sick. That's gonna be a cool fight. But the fight we're looking at, John DeJesus versus Kai Kamaka. We're all familiar with Kai Kamaka from his stint in the UFC. I think he had like his 4 fights. No renegotiation, whatever. You can find out more about that if you watch a few of his interviews. At least one we're going to reference here because it's super telling. But breaking down this fight, I guess we start there because the mental state of Kai Kamaka. The John Hyun Ko guy, damn it, definitely saying his name wrong, but he works for the All-Star. He's like, hey, you see him doing a bunch of interviews. The guy's dope at interviews. But his interview on the All-Star with Kai Kamaka is top 3 worst fighter interviews I've ever watched. Just like mentally, I don't know what kind of space he's in right now. Like he's bringing his cousin's Ray Cooper. He just won the PFL thing, obviously. He's bringing him, like he's in his corner. The guy's like grasping for straws, talking about like how, I don't know, just like rationalizing. That is the most backwards interview. You just watch it for yourself. It's honestly hard to explain. He's just like bouncing around, like contradicting himself, and it's just bad. I don't think he's in the best mental state. I think there's a ton of pressure on the guy because he's got a family to feed, moved him to the U.S., and now just got cut by the UFC. It's like, I don't know, watch the face-offs. You can see that pressure building. I think it's a really tough spot for him. I don't think he's doing any favors going up against a John DeJesus guy who's preparing for Keone Diggs. It's like short notice for Kamaka, relatively at least. Keone Diggs is good, like a young up-and-coming, like I think good guy. So he's obviously preparing for somebody good. DeJesus moved out to Factory X, so he's taking like risks of his own. Moved himself out to Factory X for this camp. You've been watching for a while. We've kind of been like even though we're diehard Brandon Royval fans, semi-fading Montoya and all them because they're just kind of overrated. I don't know. It just seems like they lack a certain level of, I don't know, toughness, something like that. Like the game plan's just kind of, I don't know, it gets stale, whatever it is. Or like unrealistic game plans, whatever it is. But for DeJesus here, I think it's a very finite cut game plan. And I think what Factory X does well in terms of striking, in terms of feinting, stuff like that, will really help him in this matchup against Kamaka. Breaking down what's going to actually happen in the ring. So before anything, I think it's a huge mental edge for John DeJesus. On top of the fact that he's faced much better levels of competition. You go back through... Go back through his record, like Bill Algeo, Pat Sabatini, Danny Chavez, an opponent, Kai Kamaka fight, but he fought him when he was like young. Kai Kamaka fought the falling off the cliff, aging old Danny Chavez, Billy Quarantillo. These are all people he fought Aaron Phillips, who not a great UFC fighter, but he fought, they fought really early on. I think DeJesus is a guy that's been improving. He's a guy that hasn't always had the opportunity, I think, to take this 100% seriously. Before, he was like a tree. I know, I watched some interview because, fair disclosure, this won't be the first time I'm on DeJesus. I took a long shot on him against Aaron Pico, who was just that guy's on too many steroids. I don't know who's going to beat. Just on too many steroids for DeJesus to beat him with the wrestling plus the steroid edge and just absurd power. Watching that, he's climbing trees. He's one of those guys that has to climb up trees and do all that stuff, or that's what he was doing when he lived, I want to say, in Texas before he's doing this camp in Colorado. But I'm not sure he was getting all the cardio training he would have. You see interviews he's talking about now how he's just an absolute horse training in Colorado for these camps, being out there for however long, training in elevation. I think that's a huge advantage in this fight as well. So inside the cage, if you remember, Kamaka likes to the little chaotic bursts, get in tight, use that boxing background. But it's interesting because he's kind of transitioned. I don't know where he's at now. It's Extreme Couture, one of the places in Vegas where his main training partners he talks about are Mads Burnell, Jeremy Kennedy, grapplers that are in Bellator as well. It's interesting because he's like boxing background Hawaiian guy that like if your cousin's Ray Cooper and you guys are all like state champ wrestlers, Ray Cooper's got such good wrestling. You're going there here to work the wrestling when I feel like here's where you come to maybe work the striking. I don't know. Nixick's going to be in his corner now. So I think you can trust him. He said he'll be in there with alongside Cooper. So like relatively good. I don't know. Just interesting what he's working on because I think a lot of what's wrong is like striking in a lot of departments and just like general like awareness, stringing everything together, stuff like that. I think obviously the wrestling he's going to push here. You watch John DeJesus, that's something I think he will be able. I mean, he's going to secure a takedown or two, but I think DeJesus is going to work back up. He doesn't have good top game. I don't know, just kind of working through that route to victory for Kamaka. Like, he's not submitting him. I'm pretty damn sure of that. He's not ground and pounding him. So it's like Kamaka working his way to just like a steady, like positional control victory from on top. Kind of like Ray Cooper, his cousin that's going to be in his corner, did to Rory McDonald. The mental state stuff and just Kamaka has fought so chaotically and stuff before, doesn't have, I don't think, good enough control from top. But all of these things together with the grappling background and stuff, I think that's his only route to victory, and I'll give it like something like 30%. So if I'm giving Kamaka, in my opinion, 30% chance of victory. In all fair, I will say that I like the grappling part is the hardest part for me. Once I lose these fat cheeks and start working out a little bit again, I'm gonna have to do some like jiu-jitsu rolling, whatever. There's so many gyms around here, like 10th Planet stuff. I'm gonna have to do some because that's what I'm lacking. When breaking down these fights, I underestimate it a lot of the time. I'm gonna have to do some of it, but I'm gonna give it my head Kamaka like a 30% chance of winning. If he follows that game plan, Cooper's like somehow. The thing is, Ray Cooper can't give him the special thing that Ray has, like that like winner, like fuck you, I'm a winner. Like it really doesn't matter what anybody else in the world says, I'm that guy. Ray Cooper can't give that to Kamaka in the cage. And I don't know. For DeJesus, I think it's a very clear game plan, especially with the cardio and your movement already. He's got pretty good movement in and out, stuff like that. He's a pretty lanky southpaw who's coming into his physical prime. If you look at them at the face-offs, he's bigger, man. He's going to have a reach advantage. He's a bigger dude. I think he hits hard. His leg kicks are heavy. I think it's pretty he's got a good jab. You've seen him utilize it in a very disciplined manner in other fights, like you use it, move, leg kick, I think a lot of what lower volume holding him back is like what we were talking about before, is how hasn't had the consistent enough training with like cardio and stuff. I think he's working his ass off with another job to try and put all these things together. I don't think he's had enough time to strictly train it and stuff like that. I think it just helps a ton moving up to elevation at Factory X. I think that's huge for this particular matchup, because he's going to have to move. Just pick with the jab. Kamaka's completely open for it. And you can rip body kicks. You can rip leg kicks. If you watch Tony Kelly versus Kamaka matchup, when he was switch, and when he switched to southpaw, those leg kicks were open. Kamaka's kind of walking forward. If John DeJesus has a reach advantage, power advantage, and he's coming with the straight shots, he works his jab, comes with straight shots. Kamaka kind of, first of all, he's super hittable, leaves his head relatively decent, head movement that wanes as the fight goes, but he's hittable. His guard's not high, and he's kind of winging punches a little bit out from the sides. It's going to be quicker, straight line, beats the hookies, and then I don't know, just work the body kicks, work those, and I think eventually, because I don't know how Kamaka is gonna to take the route where Kamaka manages his emotions, all these things, lays on DeJesus, is able to, I don't know, I guess get in tight, and that's when negate the reach advantage if you can get in tight really quick because you're threatening with the takedown, and that kind of changes it. I just don't think that DeJesus is going to respect the takedown game of Kamaka enough, because he knows he's going to be able to get back up so quickly, and that Kamaka probably can't just sit there and mat return over and over again because he doesn't have the threat of the sub. So he's going to tire himself out. I don't think Kamaka shown he has that level. Definitely doesn't have that level of wrestling and cardio where you can just do that over and over and over again. I think if he gets in those scrambles, it's just going to tire him out. I don't know, man. I think Kamaka is just kind of continuously biting off more than he can chew, because he's just You know, he's like a fucking warrior, man. And this is what he knows. He's got probably a family and kids, and this is this is the best he can do. But I think just the combo of those things, cardio edge, like it's not gonna wear Jesus down having to get up all that stuff. He's like working with guys like if he's got like Zalal and stuff like hanging on him, these kind of guys. I don't know, man. I just don't think Kamaka can do it. If he's training with Zalal and stuff, like his movement getting in tight and then getting on stuff, it's just gonna be too easy for the Jesus here. So we'll take and all the tricks and stuff he's gonna have picked up from Montoya and Roy Vol and stuff, and he says he loves the atmosphere here in Factory X. I don't know if it'll help him super long term, but I think for this camp, like that feint work, stuff like that, he's gonna. But I think you can use the feint and stuff, but go first, man. Just pump the jab, rock it. You then use a feint, draw out the loopy hooks, and then crank them with the left, man. I don't know how hard it can be, or draw it out and body kick. Just rip those body kicks, get his hands to drop even more, and then just. So John DeJesus, think he wins. I'm not even gonna go into. I like Jeremiah Wells a lot. Want to watch the face-offs tomorrow, but I already talked about how I like him a lot. But for UFC, well, I guess it's not tomorrow. That would be Saturday. Who knows what time it is by the time this is done filming? What? It doesn't matter anymore what time of day it is. Don't worry, guys. We're going to sleep. So yeah, let's go, John DeJesus. Plus 180 price or something. I haven't even talked about the price or anything. I mean, I think he's like a 70% chance to win. Plus the fact that I underestimate wrestling. So like, you want to go sushi, you want to go pancake, whatever. But if you can get a plus 180 price, I mean, John DeJesus here. I'm not sure about Pettis Horiguchi, but I'm excited to watch that. Everybody seems, the smartest people seem to say Horiguchi's going to win. I don't know, man. I don't know. I like John DeJesus. I'm tired.